everyone, and welcome to my resource presentation. My resource presentation was done on a study by Yolanda Seeley-Roots called Wrapping the Curriculum Around Their Lives Using a Culturally Relevant Curriculum with African American Adult Women. I chose this study based on the level of interest I had once reading it. This was actually my third study I chose after reading two other articles and not really connecting with it. And I was really able to connect personally and professionally with this study. My interest is working with marginalized populations on college campuses, and this study really highlighted how curriculum, especially culturally relevant curriculum, can affect the success of students on campus. The purpose of this study was to examine the significance of a culturally relevant curriculum, or CRC, to a group of Black female adult learners in a freshman composition course at a liberal arts college. The study asked, how do Black women adult learners respond to a curriculum centered on their cultural way of knowing, and what happens when these women are instructed using a culturally relevant curriculum? Really looking at how does this affect the success of students, especially in a Eurocentric world. So culturally relevant curriculum, or CRC, was a framework that was used for this study, and the major tenet states that learners validate self and group identity by drawing upon life experiences and also the backgrounds and perspectives and lived experiences of the students. Learners also use cultural knowledge to facilitate transformative learning experience, especially when they identify with that knowledge. It helps define their goals, their hopes, their fears, as we'll see later on in the study. And also says that learners who suffer oppression on a daily basis, culturally relevant curriculum helps them take control over their lives and their learning. And it does this by giving learners a space that challenges the dominant Eurocentric male perspective in the world of education and just in society in general. Another major framework that was used for this study was Afrocentric philosophy, which validates and values the experiences of African Americans and emphasizes race as a guiding principle for understanding their status in the United States. And this is really important because, as we know, race guides a lot of who we are, our perceptions, our growth, our socioeconomic status, our educational learning, and really everything media in society. And it also states that people of African descent have had to develop a unique cultural system, ideas, beliefs, and practices to facilitate their survival in a racist society. Because everything in the society is so Eurocentric and very has a very negative light on Afrocentric culture, really developing a cultural system of support and having those strong beliefs and ideas helps Black and brown people and people of color to navigate the world in which they live in. The final theoretical framework of this is Black feminist theory, which gives voice to women who have been told that their voice doesn't matter by society, by being excluded from equal educational and employment and opportunities throughout history, to being stereotyped and misrepresented in the media, and discussions and decision about Black women continue to take place without their input, research agendas that are happening, without the voice of Black women from being their culture being appropriated in the media. You can think of like Kylie Jenner's lip kit to Arietta Lacks, whose genetic information was used for research without her input. So this theory is really to stimulate Black women's consciousness, and it leads them to self-reflection and self-actualization and freedom from the constructs, from the society constructs that binds and oppresses and disempowers them, to give them that empowerment that they have. So the actual study was a qualitative study to examine the significance of CRC among 15 adult learners. These learners were full-time students at a liberal arts college in Harlem, New York, between the ages of 23 to 57. The curriculum was delivered over an 18-week period, and weekly journals, assignments, papers, and discussions were analyzed to get the results. The study found three major themes. The first was language validation. So a lot of Black and uh, brown people in the United States are bidialectal, if not bilingual. And this is in order to survive. However, once students get into the educational system, they see the bidialectal part of themselves as a negative factor and often try to lose that aspect of themselves in order to fit in, and are told that it is devalued. And this study found that um, it's important to help students accept and understand and value their dialect. One example is the African American Vernacular English, and this really helps stimulate students' creativity and ability to express themselves in a way that is significant and important, and and others can identify with. The second finding that they found was positive self identity. And students who received the culturally responsive curriculum were able to control self-image about themselves by understanding their personal history. Because the education system is so Eurocentric, a lot of students and a lot of history of Black and brown individuals are either diluted or missing from the educational system. Therefore, there are not people and important figures that these students can identify with, and can help motivate and inspire and shape them. And we'll find that this is really important in the third finding that they found. The final finding showed self-affirmation and affirmation of goals. So students who were introduced to culturally relevant curriculum use their curriculum as a tool against oppression and as a gateway to explore their fears, their goals, and their future hopes and aspiration. Also because they were able to have that positive self-image and have people who they identified with. Black students were able to be empowered and inspired by those individuals. And by seeing people who were able to do amazing things and really rise against oppressive systems, enabled students to see that they had that power and that voice to be able to make changes in both their lives, their communities, and the world in general. So what are the implications for chief academic officers? Well, culture is an intricate part of adult learners, and I think not just adult learners, but learners in general. It defines who the person is, it defines where they're coming from, their goals and their aspirations. And having a learning environment that embraces the cultural experiences and perspective allows learners to better engage with the curriculum. Culturally relevant curriculum allows learners to deconstruct negative stereotypes about their experiences by covering the various aspects of their culture, their history, their marginalized experiences, and this empowers students and enables them to be successful in life and helps them develop goals that will help them engage with their learning. Concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. Here's my reference. I would really encourage you to read this article. I deeply enjoyed reading it, and it had so much salient points and information. The qualitative and responses that were in the study were so great and enriching to read. If you can please read it, I would really encourage you to. I hope you enjoyed listening to this presentation, and I definitely hope you read it. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye.